For years, viewers saw Vince Gill smile. Stage, playing music, progressing like everything was fine. But behind closed doors, quite different was happening. Just lately, Vince finally confessed what actually his wife left and why never fading scars. That hue was more than painful. It was something substantially worse than average realized. Join us as we analyze Vince's unspoken moments. The quiet safeguarded his family, the long-hidden truth. They can vanish. First things first went wrong. Vince's Norman childhood, felt solid. Music from the exterior looked like life. Kids go to school, come home, eat dinner, and regular child concerns problems. There was order. There were customary. The feeling was that home was safe, even without thinking about those words then. One of safety's strongest parts, music. After dinner, home may alter your mood. Vince's father, who had significant work responsibility, adored music. He showed that side more at home. He play guitar, sing, and fill sounding music room. Vince would sat beside his guitar, still not confident of himself, but learning, wanting to contribute music. These moments weren't flawless. They were about togetherness. It was a simple family way connected. For Vince, those evenings were more than fun. They felt similar to emotional safety. Everyone was concentrating at doing anything together without explanation. Then that night, the phone rang, and music, stable life broke. He was only Vince. Aged 11 when his older half-brother Bob was in a serious vehicle accident. No news came in. Gently. 1 minute, life was fine. The next, the house's grown-ups were reacting differently than Vince had ever seen. Even if nobody told everything, fear was clear immediately. Vince noticed his parents' faces. He saw shock, body tightness, how their voices changed. Bob wasn't just hurt. In a coma. A single word can alter mood room. It says nobody knows what follows. For kids, viewing your parents' breakdown is unique of trauma. Parents should bestable ones. Are expected to know how. When they don't, makes the world unsafe. Vince saw his father's face fall like power. He counted on unexpectedly cracks. He saw his mother cover her mouth, holding herself together. That moment, youthful innocence started ending. Not because Vince suddenly knew all about death or disability, but because he understood redefined terror. So he understood it may happen that you cannot fix. After the call, the family entered a long wait. The Bob stayed in hospitalized for 3 months. Vince spent waiting room time. Music did not feel normal. Hospitals have distinct atmospheres. Dazzling lights, strange odors, silent low footsteps and whispers. For kid, it might be confusing and overwhelming. Vince observed adults whisper together. He observed cry when they thought kids weren't paying attention. He noticed the strain of families spending hours in recliners, expecting good news, preparing opposite. Young people don't get complete explanation sentences. Music, taken what you observe. Vince absorbed sadness, dread, and uncertainty. Anyone sitting him down and directing him how to proceed. When Bob eventually awakened up, relief faded. According to expectations. Bob lived, but didn't return as the same person. He was speechless, unable to handle himself. For Vince, this was difficultly perplexing. No explanation without experience. Hearing someone is hurt is one thing. Seeing someone you know is different. Love alive, yet so altered the relationship you knew abruptly gone. Vince's sibling remained, but his brother who joked, made him feel seen and taunted disappeared. Silence and trauma. After Bob's accident, Vince lost more than brother he knew. He also lost thought life was predictable. That kind of experience fades childhood and vanish when you grow up. It can softly follow you years and shape your fear management, tension, love. For Vince, Bob injury cast a long shadow. All-encompassing background. It taught him early that horrible things can occur suddenly and that can't always solve them. Music, a major lesson. Vince learnt that displaying fear didn't work outcome. He observed adults as a child. Cry, worry, fight. Still, they continued to hurt. So his mind learned a simple rule. Keep it inside. Not because he wasn't feeling, but because he had no choice with such emotions. If people around him tried to be strong by keeping silent, he took the same habit. In time, disguising fear became normal, a skill he carried throughout adulthood. Like this, emotional self-control might appear strong. From outside, people notice someone who peaceful, productive, and doesn't break down publicly. But within, the feelings persist. Just get pushed down, and they can emerge tension. Sleepless nights, anxiety never stops, or sudden waves panic that don't fit moment. For Vince, hiding terror didn't include cold. This was about survival. Just going through day without being overwhelmed by what he carried. It also affected his speech that kept quiet about pain. Vince became someone who digested life musically calm way. Instead of lengthy talks, he kept things close. Instead of sharing, he watched and listened to every fear that tackled issues without drawing attention. So when Amy's health later changed, his first instinct was not to broadcast or even explain it thoroughly. He instinctively music would handle it in the smallest circle possible. He learned that early that private pain was safer than public suffering. Childhood trauma can also influence mature love. After experiencing a circumstance, when someone is alive but not truly identical, it can establish a deep worry of losing people slowly way confusing. And you don't simply fear death. Change you can't control worries you dot stop. You worry someone fading or difficulty and failing to provide back to their former selves. That fear can cause hypervigilance. Relationships. Hypervigilance is when your intellect stays active even when things appear okay. Each detail is noticed. Change in mood, energy, memory, or wellness. Patterns are tracked. You try connect dots. Feeling responsibility. Detect danger early. You're not seeking to control someone. You want to avoid discomfort. Seen before. Vince's life progressed ahead, quietly conveying fear left his inner world. It changed his approach to pressure, decisions, and his next big turning point career, professional conflict. A long time, Vince Gill lives in a strange place, the music world. The persons who truly understood music knew his talent was. Other musicians admired him, producers trusted him. In case of need crisp guitar, powerful harmony, a consistent studio presence, Vince was their type. Called. He might enter a meeting, play the music after listening. Needed without self-promotion. Respect didn't come naturally. Becoming known. A sideman session player can be a good job. It can also feel invisible. You aid build others' records travels, other people's moments. Then the spotlight moves on. Vince wasn't disregarded because talented. He was overlooked because industry wasn't sure what to do. Talented, quiet, music, avoidance of flash. That causes specific emotional harm. People admire you, but the public doesn't know. You can feel like always close to your life desire, yet never really embrace it. Vince could hear the praise, but went home wondering if he would ever have personal breakthrough. He worked out frequently, but wasn't building stability. Bringing name and stability was crucial because of pressure was emotional and financial, too. Talent doesn't matter to bills. Vince's albums were praised. Music reviewers, but lovely words avoid rant. Watching country radio pick additional artists. Louder noises, easier hooks, and tunes that conform to a trend. Opportunities not always grew. They sometimes shrank. Then you begin taking any job, even if it's not your dream. You start accepting because you need it paycheck, not because it moves you career progress. He noticed classmates succeed. Performers appeared to jump advance swiftly. Their tours were massive, hit records and TV ads. Vince, it wasn't loudly bitter, but still hurt. It can raise questions. Yourself. It can make you wonder missing you. This can make you feel like you're fading in a moving universe. Music is rapid and individuals are forgotten. Next came the moment that could have changed everything suddenly. Mark Knopfler proposed to join Dire Straits. It wasn't little. Opportunity. Massive. Dire Straits. It real money, worldwide crowds, and most musicians never have the security yet. For a stressed person, sounds like the perfect getaway. Vince seriously considering it because he was tired of fighting. He was fed up, wondering if he would succeed be himself. Right when it appeared may have chosen the worst choice of his life. One song would alter everything. Amy Grant. When Vince Gill met Amy Grant, it wasn't shown like an extreme strategy or decision. Most accounts say it begging it felt simple. Two music artists, same space, working on project, conversing, connecting. Part that stood out wasn't their goal. Chase anything. That they seemed to recognize something familiar in each other's immediately. People surrounding them saw it too. Not because they were being inappropriate in public, although because their relationship seemed natural. They spoke freely. These seemed comfortable together. There was notion of mutual understanding without straining. The same both were married. Vince married Janice Oliver. Amy was wife of Gary Chapman. The fact mattered and established limits the start. Not free people just following emotions. They were grown with established families and lives. In music, The beginning, connection remained safe. Friendship, professional esteem, experiences shared. But a link like can quickly grow complicated, despite efforts to keep it controlled. The more they met, through performances and collaborations, the friendship grew. Boundaries didn't explode suddenly. They deteriorated quietly. That happens often. What makes these situations hard? Point one, clean line doesn't always exist. May point to and say when everything changed. It can be series small steps, more talking, trust, and emotional intimacy music until it becomes something else no one can ignore. As the link grew, outside world began pressing. Fan and tabloid started without a confirmed story building one. People chatted. Guessed. Their backstage photo could become a headline. Friendship moment could indicate an affair. When the public watches to everything they do, people like becomes evidence even if not. That kind of attention adds pressure not many couples experience. It affects more than your actions influences safety. This is where emotional restraint becomes genuine battle. The story of Vince and Amy frequently characterized, maintained control off the scenario. The situation was known. Stake. They realized the potential harm. Happen. Yet emotional connection doesn't follow regulations always. You know to stay in one lane. But feelings aren't always rational. And as public speculation increased, more trapped it may feel. When personal life becomes public, gossip might make you feel like there's no proper move. If you're quiet, people assume hiding something. If you speak up, many say you make excuses. Music. Next followed divorces and timing. Everything seemed terrible. Vince and Janice divorced 1997. Amy and in 1999, Gary split. Despite the reality in those marriages was tricky, public often has little regard for intricacy. People create a simple tale using dates. Perception can worsen than reality because the perception spreading quicker and not. Music. Demand proof. A tale is in place, many keep it tightly. Once they survived, storm, the next challenge wasn't headline at all. There was something far more serious waiting behind locked doors. The Eagles. When Vince Gill was invited to join Eagles after Glenn Fry died, music wasn't only another gig. Job was full of emotions, history, and expectations many musicians never carry. Glenn was more than a famous singer band. Many fans recognized him as the voice linked to childhood, memories, and key life events moments. Stepping into the space meant Vince wasn't just filling in role. He was entering a spot. Grieving continued. For that reason, pressure differed. Vince had nothing to prove talent-wise. People in music already respected him. But Eagles weren't simply any band. They sing deeply. Familiar to millions. And the presence of Glenn helped songs seem right. Vince grasped from the start. Didn't approach with pride. If anything, he approached it with great emotional burden. He anticipated fan comparisons to Glenn. He expected some to be angry regardless because they didn't want anyone touching those music. And he knew that even if the band embraced, the crowd had to accept him, too. That obligation might be mental. Load. Not only are you thinking accurate no play, you think what music mean to people that you're considering Glenn's family, that you're considering band members who lost pal. You're considering audience members who paid to hear that recalls a deceased person. Vince wasn't replacing Glenn, he had to sing, and music, play to honor Glenn built. That duty can make you feel every mistake is bigger than it is. This is where perfectionism appears. Vince reportedly focused on preparation. He spent late nights studying parts, harmonies, and changes, music, till they became natural. It may look it was dedication, but it can dread too. Some prepare due to their passion for work. Others prepare since they were fearful of failing. For Vince, it appears to be both. He didn't want to let down the band. He didn't want to disappoint fans. And deeper, he didn't want to offend Glenn's memory. That type of fear can physically appear. Attacks of panic often not weak. They are response to stress building until body can't keep quiet. Vince faced pressure previously. He was judged earlier. But this was different because pain was attached at it. Not even his grief. He was holding fan and collective pain those close to Glenn. And he had to perform amid bright lights lighting in enormous arenas. That's lots for human neurological system. Also, there's something odd about failing the dead. Not having Glenn Fry to receive. Music, you're okay. Maximum effort. Vince's only option tried to honor him. Performance makes the task feel no closure, makes it heavier, and no assurance. You're trying. Job in front of potential. Are you mad, sad, or protective? it with someone you know honoring cannot hear it. Vince carried all that stress that a more personal stage experience was creating at home to challenge him the audience never could. Why first medical crisis that it began simply. Thus it hit hard. Vince and Amy pursued a presamedno big deal medical visit. Early warning. No build-up where they prepared gradually one of those horrible news appointments you make to be first. It wasn't about even Amy, but throughout the visit, doctor advised her to get checked. Sounds easy. Like a normal they consented, counting on just a quick everything fine music. However, it opened a door neither expected. Tests music prompted additional tests, and suddenly language doctor's mood shifted. Serious situations require shifts. Conversations quietened and regular checks became direct. Unexpected diagnosis for Amy had congenital heart disease, been there since infancy. But left unnoticed, the problem wasn't modest. It could be treated with drugs. It was bad enough for doctors to rest. To claim she required open heart surgery, epidemic worsened everything. Hospitals had rigorous rules, and rules often prevented families from together as usual. A spouse may feel that way. Fear plus punishment. Vince couldn't always support Amy wanted. He couldn't always sit with her, calm her fears, or perhaps normal talk will distract her. When someone you love faces major surgery can separate them. You feel powerless with music that not only worried about what might. You can't do anything outside either. What you want most. Be just when they believe that the worst may be over. Another frightening moment awaited. Road accident. Bike accident struck without notice that arrived like most bad times. That a phone call transforms the everything in 1 second. Amy had ridden in Nashville, and even July 2022 sounded natural, healthy. Vince wasn't there. Fact alone might produce a unique fear later since you weren't there to observe or aid. Music. The beginning moments. When called, that message scared Amy. Crashed, unconscious. For not only scary news, Vince reopened something profound. Experienced this shock before it when he and his brother were kids. Bob crashed and went into years later. The body can coma. Fear is remembered faster than thought. Process it. Vince's response wasn't just the present. Amy was also regarding the return of terrorful power. The same horrifying feeling, same chest tightness. Worried you might lose someone or lose your version. Irreversible knowledge that emotional flashbacks aren't always clear recollection, like a movie playing in head. Sometimes it's a feeling. Panics, feels helpless. Vince allegedly Dravido the hospital crying and overwhelmed, unaware of what he would find. That uncertainty hurts, knowing if someone is awake, not knowing if they recognize you, without knowing they can speak, without knowing if brain is okay. You can't prepare to, since all outcomes are two. Doctors found Amy had undergone traumatic brain injury that can seem clinical, but personal and scary truth. Brain damage affects many. Memory can be affected. Balance, speech, mood, focus, energy can alter a person. One of the hardest to think and move aspects is that recovery rarely clear timelines are desired. Brain wants easy explanations. Not all injuries provide them. Recovery uncertainty increased. Own stress. Amy was unconscious for many minutes. Doctors, music normal couldn't be guaranteed. Later, certain symptoms may improve. Some take months, some fast. Can last. Vince had already experienced a huge medical catastrophe with Amy. Now he faced another brain crisis. Her memory and self-esteem can seem frightening because it touches the personal traits that make people feel like them. Amy woke up and beginning her recuperation, alterations appeared in modest, yet devastating ways. There were memory gaps. She sometimes felt confused, struggled to speak or remember her words. For Vince, he valued those moments that he noticed more than symptoms. Witnessing his wife struggle to stay related to her life. Sorrowful music, not only because it's difficult for caregiver, and because it's deeply frustration and fear for the person. Just one moment, particular hit Vince hard and remained. Amy recovered with him. Questioned him. Did I say I love you today? Forget again. The sentence is simple. It displays a lot. Awareness of her memory issues. Her experience wasn't limited. Her symptoms were noticeable and feeling loss and terror at she may miss something crucial, as simple as showing affection. Not only was that sad for Vince, music, it crushed. And when Vince makes snap decisions that he stopped performing, meaningless to someone whose life revolves around performing. Not spectacular, but significant. Statement. Amy decided clearly. Needed him more than any stage. caregiving goes beyond being their physical presence. Emotional stability, patience, attendance therapy, overcoming obstacles, and staying calm when your loved one feels afraid or frustrated. Vince leaned in that duty totally. Career can wait, marriage couldn't. As the Vince eventually recovered, he stopped holding all in and admitted what he hid for a while. Vince Gill admitted after a while. Time. Vince Gill retained the scariest portions. People keep Amy's health tale to themselves. I might have known the basics: open heart surgery, then bike crash and brain injuries. But private truth weighed more than most knew. Vince didn't simply endure moments of difficulty, that where he feared he might lose eventually confessed to his wife. Years of caution and silence there were too. Different occasions where Amy's life was truly at first risk. During her open heart surgery wasn't easy process, where the result felt guaranteed. Vince explained waiting while doctors worked, knowing music. If she returns, he once said he was told to expect the worst. Message affects breathing. You consider your hallway position. It makes you imagine a life that it's rapid and unwanted. Second major moment. Music. Followed. 2022 bike accident. Amy was brain damage and unconsciousness. Even early hours mattered. Her long-term outlook after waking up was unclear. Vince sat with the fact that his beloved could survive but not fully recover. He has lived before this form of childhood terror with his brother, and now lived repeating with his wife. It caused further difficulty by not feel confident this will definitely be all right. He knew it might not be afraid after such encounters that stays. Even when things better, the mind recalls how quickly life can change. Vince lived out with preeminent worry that appeared in the backdrop. He was hyper-conscious of music. Notice Amy's subtle changes that others, if she looked uncatchily, particularly exhausted, if she hesitated speaking or forgetting something small, it may cause anxiety that he wanted to overreact. But since his brain acquired small music indications can cause major problems consequences. If this story moved you, subscribe and like the video. To channel. Share your ideas below.